Beneath their feet lies one of the world's most active volcanic systems, erupting continuously for over 800 years. Surrounding them are thousands of kilometers of isolated ocean. Despite the harsh conditions, over 330,000 people proudly call this land home. While millions of Americans live in safe megacities, constantly grappling with pressure and anxiety, here the people live a completely different life. When the earth shakes, they calmly rebuild their homes. When volcanoes erupt with ash, they smile and continue working in the fields. Here, wealth isn't measured in US dollars, it's measured by the curvature of wild boar tusks. Brave men leap from 30-meter-high wooden towers at speeds of 70 kilometers per hour, using only 2 vines tied to their ankles, living with natural disasters, lacking modern conveniences, yet paradoxically, it's been voted one of the happiest countries on Earth. Vanuatu. What is life really like in this extraordinary island nation? The answer will surely surprise you. Nestled across the Pacific Ring of Fire, Vanuatu is one of the youngest and most geologically vibrant regions on the planet. It's an archipelago of 83 islands stretching over 1,300 kilometers across the ocean. Its total land area is approximately 12,200 square kilometers, roughly the size of the small U.S. state of Connecticut. However, much of this modest territory is not simply rock, it's composed of majestic volcanic peaks rising from the deep ocean floor. Millions of years of tectonic plate friction and incessant eruptions have carved a stunning natural landscape full of contrasting colors. On the southern island of Tanna, a vast area is covered in gray ash at the foot of Mount Yasur, a 361-meter-high volcano. This is one of the world's most accessible active volcanoes, and it has been continuously erupting for over 800 years. Every few minutes, brilliant columns of fire shoot up into the night sky. If distant America boasts the Yellowstone supervolcano, which erupts only once every 10,000 years, then in Vanuatu, the fiery pulse of the Earth's core occurs every day, every hour. The light is so brilliant that sailors from the 18th century honored it as the lighthouse of the Pacific. Traveling over 200 kilometers by sea north to a fate island, the landscape changes completely and becomes incredibly peaceful. The tranquil capital, Port Vila, appears, home to over 50,000 residents. This city is surrounded by deep bays and stunning emerald lagoons. Further beyond lies Espiritu Santo, Vanuatu's largest island, covering nearly 4,000 square kilometers. It's a completely different world, with vast tropical rainforests, crystal clear blue holes up to 20 meters deep lie beneath a system of limestone caves, and stretches of smooth white sand surround crystal clear waters. In Vanuatu, sometimes just crossing a narrow strait takes you from the dark, silent slopes of volcanoes to a lush, verdant forest. From dramatic cliffs to secluded bays, seemingly untouched by human footsteps. Of course, the beauty of Vanuatu is inseparable from its tropical maritime climate. Abundant rainfall of 2,000 to 4,000 millimeters per year keeps the vegetation lush, but also brings the constant threat of fierce tropical storms. This harshness has consistently placed Vanuatu at the top of global disaster risk rankings. That's Vanuatu, a stunning island nation full of contrasts. It is a fertile, magnificent land, but it is also a place where humans feel incredibly small in the face of nature's immense, unpredictable, and ever-changing power. Before we delve into this extraordinary land, we'd like to know what time it is where you are right now. Which country are you watching this video from? Please share that information in the comments below. The first and most striking contrast in Vanuatu's nature is its intense geological activity. This small island nation is home to 9 active volcanoes, making Vanuatu one of the most geological hotspots on Earth. The most famous of these is Mount Yasur on Tanna Island. As mentioned before, it is one of the most continuously active and accessible volcanoes in the world. When night falls, Yasur begins its show. Every 3 to 5 minutes, columns of molten lava erupt from its crater, illuminating the sky with loud explosions that can be heard from kilometers away. Very few places in the world allow you to stand within 400 meters of an erupting volcano and witness this daily activity. But Yasur is not the only volcano. Further north, we have the island of Ambrim. It once boasted 2 enormous lava lakes, nestled deep within the Marum and Benbow craters. Around the world, only about 8 permanent lava lakes have been recorded, and Ambrim accounts for 2. For decades, they continuously emitted a brilliant red glow, illuminating the entire island. However, a major geological fault in December 2018 caused both lava lakes to dry up completely within days. Despite the disappearance of the lava lake's light, Ambrim remains a center of intense geological activity with eruptions recorded annually. Additionally, we have Lopevi, a perfectly cone-shaped volcano rising vertically from the ocean to over 1,400 meters. Meanwhile, the volcanoes on the islands of Ambai and Gawa. They continue to release thousands of tons of sulfur gas into the atmosphere every day. All these mountains are geological systems with immense destructive power. They bear witness to the constant movement of the Earth's crust, and they show no sign of ceasing activity. Yet, surrounding these lava-ravaged lands, nature has created a completely contrasting environment. If volcanic activity shaped Vanuatu's landscape, nature has transformed this island nation into one of the most beautiful places in the South Pacific. The largest island, Espiritu Santo, boasts hundreds of square kilometers of pristine rainforest. Hidden within this vast expanse of green are stunning natural blue holes. Here, the water is so clear that you can see individual tree trunks and rocks at depths of 15 to 20 meters below the surface. This turquoise color is created by underground freshwater sources that flow through a vast system of limestone caves before surfacing. Also on this island is the world-famous Champagne Beach. It features fine white sand and incredibly clear water. As its name suggests, carbon dioxide from underground geological activity continuously escapes through the sand. They form millions of tiny bubbles, rising to the surface like a glass of champagne. Not only are the forests abundant, but the ocean surrounding Vanuatu is also incredibly rich. Beneath the surface lie vibrant coral reefs, hundreds of species of tropical fish, sea turtles, and even huge pods of humpback whales that migrate here every year. On land, the islands are home to countless species of native birds and giant fruit bats with wingspans up to 1 meter. For comparison, when exploring national parks in the U.S., visitors always need to carry pepper spray to protect themselves from grizzly bears and mountain lions, or constantly be on alert to avoid stepping on venomous rattlesnakes. But in Vanuatu, it's completely different. This island nation has no large predators, and there are no venomous snakes on the mainland. The wilderness here remains pristine. It is also completely safe for humans to explore. The safety and abundance of this ecosystem have become a solid foundation for the survival of the indigenous community. Based on that pristine ecosystem, the people of Vanuatu maintain a unique self-sufficient economy, a stark contrast to the industrial model in the United States. Behind most houses are self-sufficient gardens, often just a few minutes' walk from the village. For over 75% of the Vanuatu population, this is the primary source of food for the entire family. Throughout the islands, from Tanna and Malekula to Espiritu Santo, these gardens are always lush and green. People grow taro, sweet potatoes, cassava, bananas, and many tropical fruits and vegetables. Every morning, they bring their machetes to work. They cultivate entirely by hand, based on crop rotation knowledge passed down through generations. But the land only provides half of the food. The other half comes from the ocean. As dawn breaks, the dugout canoes begin to leave the shore. Fishermen move out to the coral reefs. They cast nets, fish, or dive for octopuses. By noon, the fresh catches are brought back to the village. They are divided equally among neighbors as a long-standing community rule of sharing. Thanks to this combination, people in rural areas still live comfortably without needing cash. However, the modern economy is gradually expanding. At the central market in Port Vila on Ifat Island, people bring agricultural products, fresh fish, and handicrafts to sell. They use the cash they earn to pay for school fees, fuel, and medicine. Vanuatu also exports many goods to the world, including dried coconut, cocoa, and coffee. Most notably, kava is a crop that generates enormous income and is closely linked to the local cultural identity. Besides agriculture, tourism currently contributes about 40% of the country's GDP. But instead of relying entirely on foreign resorts, local people are creating their own opportunities. They open guest houses, sell handicrafts, or work as tour guides. They directly take tourists to see the Yasur volcano or go scuba diving in Espiritu Santo. This way, they earn extra cash income while maintaining full control over their land. This self-reliance is also the foundation for maintaining their unique local cuisine. With abundant, locally sourced produce and seafood, the people of Vanuatu don't need fast food or processed foods. Their cuisine is almost 100% organic and completely free of industrial preservatives. Dishes are prepared from produce, harvested from their gardens, or seafood caught just hours before cooking. Daily meals revolve around root vegetables like taro, sweet potatoes, and cassava, combined with fresh fish, crab, octopus, and coconut milk. They use very few spices to preserve the original flavors of the food. The most famous dish, recognized as the national dish of Vanuatu, is laplap. To make this dish, people grate taro into a smooth paste. They place fresh fish or pork in the center and pour plenty of rich coconut milk over it. Then, the entire mixture is tightly wrapped in layers of green banana leaves and buried in a traditional clay oven. This oven uses volcanic stones, heated to over 200 degrees Celsius. Food is sealed and cooked slowly for about 4 to 6 hours. When the last layers of banana leaves are removed, steam rises into the air, carrying the distinctive aroma of cooked food mixed with fresh leaves. Besides lap-lap, Vanuatu also has tuluk and simboro. These are smaller dishes, using similar ingredients, but rolled into small portions. The most remarkable aspect of this cuisine lies not only in the flavor, but also in how the community prepares and shares food. A large village feast always begins before dawn. Dozens of people will grate coconuts and build a fire together. They turn cooking into a collective activity. And when the last of the food is served, there is an unwritten rule that everyone must follow. Absolutely no one is allowed to start eating until the guest who traveled the furthest distance received their share of food. This communal meal was not just about filling stomachs, but also served as a catalyst for strengthening community bonds. The close-knit atmosphere created by shared meals and a self-sufficient lifestyle has resulted in a completely different pace of life in Vanuatu. In America, time is measured down to the minute to maximize work efficiency. But in Vanuatu, time isn't measured by clocks. It's measured by the movement of the sun and the changing seasons. Over 75% of Vanuatu's population still lives in rural areas, where traditional villages are the center of all activity. As the first rays of sunlight appear, the village begins a new day with very natural sounds. The sweeping of coconut leaves, the quiet conversations of families. There are no car horns and no urban noise. Houses built from bamboo and palm leaves are nestled close together. In the suburbs of America, houses are often surrounded by high fences, and childcare is very expensive. But in Vanuatu, there are no physical barriers whatsoever. Children run and play freely from house to house. A child grows up under the care and protection of the entire community. This close-knit lifestyle is most evident in traditional villages like Yakel and Sulphur Bay, located at the foot of Mount Yasur. Despite dozens of eruptions daily and clouds of ash obscuring the sky, life continues as usual. Women harvest taro in their gardens, men repair their houses, and children play at the foot of the volcano. Ash from the mountain constantly falls, but it is this ash that provides a vast source of minerals, making the land incredibly fertile. When night falls, the countryside is shrouded in darkness. There are no electric lights, only millions of stars in the sky. This is when the people gather at the Nakamal, the community meeting house. Instead of going to noisy bars after work like in America, Vanuatu men sit together. They drink kava, a traditional drink made from crushed roots. Kava is non-alcoholic, but it numbs the tongue and provides a deeply relaxing sensation. In 2006, Vanuatu topped the world's Happy Planet Index, and it has consistently maintained that position to this day. The happiness of the Ni Vanuatu people isn't measured by monetary income. It comes from strong community bonds, a secure, self-sufficient life, and the ability to live peacefully next to an erupting volcano. But to maintain that social order and peace, the Vanuatu adhere to their own very strict rules. Instead of relying on complex modern legal texts, social life in Vanuatu villages is governed by a system of traditional rules called Kastom. While American law is based on written documents, Kastom consists of unwritten rules governing land ownership, marriage, rituals, and how people connect with their ancestors. Today, even though over 82% of the population is Christian, the Kastom system remains a strong cultural foundation passed down orally through generations by village elders. According to this custom, the standard of wealth is also quite different. In traditional communities, the ultimate symbol of prosperity is not a bank account, but a boar with a curved tusk. To create this tusk, people must remove the upper canine teeth of the boar. Then, they must raise and feed it for 10 to 15 years. They do this so that the lower tusk grows longer and curved into a perfect circle. In local custom, these pigs are extremely valuable. They are used as dowry or to pay for important transactions. Their value is so great that the image of the curved pig tusk is prominently displayed on the Vanuatu national flag. It serves as a reminder that wealth is not just material. It is also about generosity and the level of individual contribution to the community. Vanuatu's uniqueness also lies in its cultural diversity. The United States has over 340 million people but communicates primarily in only one language. Meanwhile, Vanuatu, with only about 330,000 people, possesses over 130 different indigenous languages. This makes Vanuatu the country with the highest density of languages per capita on Earth. Pronunciation and customs can completely change across a village boundary. To overcome this barrier, the people use Bislama, a hybrid language based on English, as a common communication bridge. Guided by Kastom customary law and linguistic diversity, each island develops and preserves entirely distinct cultural practices. Throughout the regions of Vanuatu, cultural diversity is expressed through unique rituals and art forms. On Pentecost Island, you'll witness the Naghal ritual, also known as the wooden tower jump. Every year during the yam harvest season, men erect wooden towers up to 30 meters high. In the United States, people bungee jump with high-tech ropes and absolute safety gear. But here, men simply tie 2 vines around their ankles and bravely plunge to the ground. The speed of fall can reach up to 70 kilometers per hour. They calculate the rope length so precisely that their heads barely graze the ground. This daring harvest ritual is the inspiration for the modern sport of bungee jumping. Leaving Pentecost and heading to Ambrim Island, you'll encounter sand art. This is an intangible cultural heritage recognized by UNESCO. The artist uses only one finger, drawing a continuous, unbroken line to create complex geometric labyrinths. This is not recreational painting. It is actually an ancient communication system that allowed tribes with different languages to convey information and recount the history of their ancestors. Continuing to Gowa Island, you will hear a type of music that requires no instruments. Welcome to underwater music. Women wade into the freshwater streams, using only their hands, clapping, tapping, and rubbing on the water's surface. These movements create powerful percussion sounds, perfectly mimicking the sound of falling rain or a waterfall. Vanuatu's uniqueness is also reflected in the religious life on Tanna Island, exemplified by the John Frum movement. During World War II, approximately 500,000 American soldiers were stationed in this island nation. The presence of the American military, along with the enormous influx of goods and medicine, the arrival of the Tanna people completely transformed their perceptions. From this, a new religion emerged. They believed in a savior named John Frum, supposedly an American soldier. To this day, on February 15th each year, the Tanna people still wear their homemade uniforms, carry bamboo guns, and solemnly raise the American flag. They perform this ritual with the belief that the Americans will return, bringing prosperity with them. Each island in Vanuatu has its own unique identity, but all the people here share a common principle. They can accept change, but they will never turn their backs on their ancestral heritage. However, in the current context, the isolated structure that once protected these heritages is gradually changing. For centuries, geographical distance and ocean have protected Vanuatu's cultural heritage. But today, this nation of 83 islands, stretching over 300 kilometers, is establishing new ways of connecting. In the United States, vast highway systems connect cities seamlessly across land. But in Vanuatu, the ocean is the highway. The nation has 83 islands, stretching over 1,300 kilometers along the South Pacific. Geographical distance presents a huge challenge. To travel, people must use small motorboats. Ferry journeys carrying passengers and produce between islands can take days in bad weather. For the most remote islands, propeller planes are the only option. From the capital, Port Vila, small flights regularly connect to the islands of Tana, Espiritu Santo, and Malakula. These planes often have to land on very short runways, made entirely of compacted earth or grass, nestled deep in the jungle. Even on the larger islands, infrastructure is very basic. As you leave the paved roads in the capital, Port Vila, or the town of Luganville, the transportation system quickly transforms into dirt roads or forest trails. However, technology is gradually removing these barriers. While the United States has nationwide high-speed electricity and internet coverage, in remote villages in Vanuatu, people use small solar panels to charge their smartphones. These phones allow them to check agricultural prices and call relatives. They no longer have to spend days rowing boats as before. Education is also making a big difference. Many young people leave their villages to study in Port Vila, then bring their knowledge back to develop the tourism industry in their hometown. This is not surprising. You might see a young person scrolling through their smartphone to check emails, yet still wearing traditional clothing to participate in a village festival. In Vanuatu, technology and education haven't eradicated the old way of life. They coexist, helping the island nation integrate with the world without ever losing its roots. However, while technology helps people live better lives, it cannot protect them from the consequences of industrial development in the rest of the world. The greatest threat to Vanuatu today doesn't come from cultural change, but from the devastation of climate change. In the United States, when a superstorm hits, the government has billions of dollars allocated for reconstruction. But in Vanuatu, a Category 5 tropical storm can wipe out 60% of the country's GDP in just one day. Natural threats surround this island nation from all directions. Every year, from November to April, the tropical storm season brings strong winds and torrential rains. In just a few hours, houses are ripped off, boats are destroyed, and cultivated fields are completely flattened. It's not just storms. Volcanoes are also a constant threat. In 2017 and 2018, the Manaro Vui volcano on Ambio Island erupted violently. The amount of ash and acid rain was so dense that the government had to urgently evacuate all 11,000 residents from the island. Today, climate change is making the situation worse. Rising sea levels are engulfing coastlines and pushing saltwater into freshwater sources. Warming ocean temperatures are killing coral reefs en masse and directly threatening the fish stocks of thousands of fishermen. But what is the greatest injustice? An average American emits about 15 tons of carbon per year. Meanwhile, a Vanuatu emits less than 0.4 tons. The total emissions of this island nation are almost zero. Yet, they are bearing the brunt of climate change's devastating consequences. Unwilling to stand idly by while their homeland is being ravaged, this small island nation has decided to fight back. Recently, representatives from Vanuatu brought this fight to the International Court of Justice. They stood before the United Nations judges and demanding that major powers be held legally accountable for climate disasters that directly threaten their survival. This legal battle is a powerful testament to the people's will to protect their land. Besides the international fight against climate change, domestically, Vanuatu is also taking drastic measures to protect its environment and identity from the wave of modernization. Smartphones and the internet have opened doors to connecting with the world. More and more young people are leaving their home island to go to the capital, Port Vila, or to work abroad. However, this integration brings a huge risk, as the younger generation communicates primarily in Bislama, English, and French. Dozens of indigenous languages are on the verge of extinction. Some languages are now spoken by fewer than 10 elderly people. When they pass away, a part of history will be lost forever. Waste management is also a thorny issue. In the United States, billions of plastic bags are used annually, and only a very small fraction are recycled. Previously, waste in Vanuatu consisted only of leaves and leftover food. Plastic can decompose naturally and be used as fertilizer. But when packaged goods flood in, the islands are quickly overwhelmed with plastic waste. Without the massive recycling plants found in the US, Vanuatu has opted for a far more drastic solution. In 2018, the country made history. They became the first in the world to completely ban plastic straws, disposable plastic bags, and styrofoam containers. This decision reduced plastic waste from 35% to less than 2%. Today, when visiting local markets, you'll see people using eco-friendly baskets hand-woven from pineapple leaves as a replacement for plastic bags. With all the temptations from the outside world, what keeps people on these isolated islands? In Western countries, success is often measured by bank accounts or a house in a big city. But for the people of Vanuatu, home is not just a geographical location, it's where people connect with their ancestors, family, and community. These are values that no modern city can buy. Vanuatu may not be the richest or most modern country, but it holds a different definition of happiness. From the curved wild boar tusk symbol on the national flag to the precarious wooden towers on Pentecost Island during the yam harvest season, or the smoky umu clay stoves at every communal village meal, all demonstrate that the Kastom customary law system is not just a museum. It lives on vividly in the daily rhythm of this island nation. Each documentary can only reflect one perspective of the world. If you have ever been to Vanuatu or have more interesting knowledge about this land, we would love for you to share it in the comments below. Your contribution, this is the perfect piece to complete this story.